So let's talk the video then. So what? You're not the kind of person who normally puts out videos like this. So what prompted it?
Am I? Am I not?
Well, this is a video that could certainly rock the boat.
Well, I say that because I've never been a content creator until now.
Until now, I guess that's fair.
Because
Kind of
as someone who was a full-time pro player, you don't have time to make content. And so your job is to get good at the game, not hang out with the community, right? And so it's now I get to make stuff. I get to talk about things I want to talk about. And I did kind of mention at the end of the video too that I was nervous about making this type of content. That is, I would say, my very first YouTube video I've probably ever actually made.
It was a good one though. It even had some nice editing in it and everything.
It was kind of scuffed, man. I don't have foam in my apartment, so when I was recording it, I had to put a blanket fort on myself and the microphone on my monitor with notes, so I would remember what I was talking about. And I just lived in a blanket and I just talked for half an hour.
So you'd like you said that you're just transitioning from pro player to content creator. Is it just kind of you've now had the opportunity and the time to talk about this? Or would you have talked about it earlier? It was like, is this a recent problem? The problem's gotten worse. Kind of like, what prompted you to actually make this video now? Is it just that you've become a content creator, or is it that the problem has become a lot worse recently?
I mentioned at the end of my video that I'm not entirely sure if the problem has been there since release or not, and I think that gets covered up by the newness factor of when you start playing a game for the first time, everything is awesome. And then
yeah, it really is.
You combine that with the fact that I'm in pro play, and so we live in our own bubble where we don't really see the problems of solo queue. And then the moment you do play solo queue, right, it's like you're exiting the pro player bubble, going to solo queue, and you're like, you look at your teammate and you go, wow, this kind of sucks, right? You're like, yeah, whatever, 8 hours of scrims, fuck it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know if it's been there since release or not. Some of those problems have been, like the ultimates definitely have been there since release, and I think that did get covered up a lot by the fact that of the newness factor of the game to me. And then the other aspect of it I didn't talk about was, I think another issue of the game I have that makes people feel very powerless is spawn advantages at the end of checkpoints and 2CP maps that has been there since release, but everyone's kind of tolerated. Yeah. That's another issue that you know that you have to win a fight decisively in order to take the point, because you have to kill 10 plus people, right? And so, yeah, it kind of adds to the whole, I don't know if any of these problems are fixable. We're just playing a really super team-based game in a solo queue environment, and a lot of the nature of these issues are because of that. And then the other part of it too is, I still remember at the very start of Overwatch, man, Blizzard literally talked about not implementing solo queue, and everyone raged and freaked out, right? Until they implemented solo queue. Yeah, because they originally said the game was meant to be played as a team, and there was going to be 6-man, only 6v6 ranked full premates, and that was it.
I actually didn't know that. That's amazing.
That was back in early beta. And then it happened because everyone raged at the time, I believe, that we finally got solo queue. And now we get to see all the issues with the game in a solo queue environment. I kind of wonder if Blizzard had it right from the very beginning and they saw all these issues coming from a mile away, but they obviously couldn't have a game without solo queue.
And now we have no 6v6 mode, no team mode at all in client. Like the first kind of step to the path to pro is legitimately just like straight up joining the open division and throwing yourselves to the sharks.
Or pugs, yeah.
More I love pugs. I love pugs so much. But and when I was watching a video myself, a lot of these things were like, I can see what you're saying, but in a team environment, these issues really wouldn't exist. In teams, it's kind of, you can counter these things, you can keep track of these things. There's the problems that you're stating, although they might be not as fun to deal with at the pro level, there are solutions available to them. So just confirming what I already kind of heard from your video, but your video is very much laser focused into like the solo queue experience at ranked, not at kind of pro play or team play, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pro play is its own special thing where there's so much more depth. You get to work around everything. You do this and that. And solo queue, it's just a completely different game. And so because it is that different game, you deal with more frustrations and like problems with the game, I think.
Now, you're obviously top 500 player. And a lot of people are kind of relating this to the lower ranks, gold and platinum ranked. Is this a problem at all elos? Is it a problem for most people? If it is that problem, is it kind of just like threatening the longevity of the game, or is it Like, so let's just rephrase that question. Is this a problem for everyone, or is it a problem for like only the low ranks or only the high ranks?
I think a lot
in
of the
solo queue?
issues I talk about are for everyone. But here's the interesting aspect, right? You hear so many people talk about role queue, right? And I guarantee you've probably heard a lot of people talk about role queue in videos or just everywhere, right? And so that's a problem. Like for me at top 500, almost every single game is 2 healers, 2 supports, 2 EPS, or like it's very, very rare. I'd say like 1 in 10 or even less games that I don't even have 2 tanks or 2 healers, right? And so there are problems that the lower ranks have where people in the general player base ask for role queue and they ask for these other aspects of the game to be fixed that I don't see. And there's aspects of the game that I have a problem with because I'm closer to the pro meta, right? Like, is goats slash 3-3 really a problem in Platinum? Probably not. I don't know how.
I don't know.
often
My chat is just about to explode with yeses. I assure you.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
I'm gonna. Surefour wants in on this call. Do you mind?
Am I getting zerged by Canadians?
Apparently, yeah. We'll just get all of the Canadians to come and just bum rush you. Yeah, did you watch Seagull's video already?
Yeah, watched all of it.
What are your thoughts, Lane?
I'm the type of person that I like
He's so
when
loud.
there are like solutions to problems people represent. And before I made my post on Twitter, I didn't know you made that intentional, but I still like when there's actually a solution or at least like something they can work off of, because like anyone can criticize someone. Anyone can be like, hey, like say you're walking down the street and like I'll try to avoid swearing, but like you're walking down the street and you see someone with like clothing on and you don't like their style and you're like, hey, your clothing looks bad. And then you kind of just leave it with that. Like, sure, that's like that's the type of criticism. Like, yeah, your clothing's bad. And they're like, but why is my clothing bad?
Yeah.
So I like you could say I don't like your clothing. I think it's bad because like the colors aren't that good. Like the colors don't work together in a way. Like that's not a clear solution, but that is like something they can work off of.
So that is one thing that's kind of missing from the end of your video, is I was expecting you to propose some actual solutions to the, to the problems that you presented themselves, but we kind of just leave it open for discussion. So were there any, you mentioned role queue previously. Surefour, feel free to chime in as well. But go ahead.
I've talked to the devs a little bit about role queue and why why it's very hard to implement into Overwatch. And the only reason it's weird is because everyone thinks of it as like 3 roles, right? Like tank, DPS, and support. But unfortunately, in Overwatch, there's actually 6 roles, which is what it is in like pro play. And the only reason to get it like actually like working in Overwatch is if you have those 6 roles, which is main DPS, flex DPS, main support, flex support, off tank, and main tank. So if you only introduce 3 roles, DPS, main tank, and support, you kind of get the gist of it. But like what happens when you get like 2 Rhine players on your team, you kind of have the same problem as you did before, as like even if you just had like random players playing it. Because to be really good in Overwatch, a lot of people specialize in things, but you're going to still have the same problem. So the only way to inherently fix that is if you add those 6 roles. But then the only worry is, what if the queue times just become ludicrous because of it?
Thoughts, Seagull?
Let me go one step at a time. So the solution part, the reason I don't talk about solutions is because I'm not a game designer, and every dev that I've ever talked to at any company, including Blizzard and the Overwatch team, I think even Jeff posted this directly on the forums, is they really appreciate feedback from the community and players that's structured like, this makes me feel this way, or this makes me feel like this. And the reason for that is because they're the ones who know the intention behind everything. And so it's more constructive feedback to them than trying to say, this sucks, implement this. And maybe they have a lot of reasons behind the scenes of why they can and cannot implement that. But if you talk to them about the feeling, they can address the negative feelings and experiences with the game in another fashion. And so
So your approach to this is kind of like, this is what, from my experience, I don't like. This is why I don't like it. The solutions are up to you. You're the professional, and the intent behind the original design. So it's up to you to come up with the solution.
Yeah,
you being the devs.
yes. I'm not a developer. I'm a pro player, and so personally, my bubble, like of what I'm competent at, is looking at the game, complaining about it, and criticizing about it. But I'm not a designer, and so I don't have the ability to have good ideas, in my opinion, most of the time. Like I can come up with maybe a good idea, but I don't think I'm good at it. So that's the first aspect I want to talk about. The second one that you want to talk about was role queue, and to me, I personally don't think role queue is needed because within my SR level of GM plus, it is extremely rare not to have a generally structured team of 2-2-2, or at least 2 tanks, or at least 2 healers, stuff like that. But maybe for the lower level scene, maybe they do have that problem, but I wouldn't know because I don't have the experience on the low level SR, right? And then the other issue is, I think a lot of role queue can just be done behind the scenes, where a big issue that I personally see is not necessarily that there isn't enough, but one role has too many people. Like you have 3 Rhine players, or you have 3 supports, or back in the days you had 4 Mercy 1 tricks on your team. You're sitting there going, wow, this is fun. And so I think a lot of that should be done behind the scenes in the matchmaking algorithm, where they go, okay, we're just going to guarantee, maybe not guarantee, obviously, but they can figure out who usually likes to play tanks, healers, and supports, or DPS, and kind of go from there and make sure there's at least one. And I probably would assume that they already do that behind the scenes to some extent. And then it avoids a lot of the issues that we're talking about with those roles, where it's, there's actually a lot of roles in Overwatch. There's a crap ton. And to sit there and be like, okay, we're just going to have like this flex role. And like, I guess you guys are the tanks, and I guess you guys are the healers, and then everyone else is just this generic flex. Or there's all these issues with it that they can just avoid by kind of handling it behind the scenes, I think.
We actually, in the discussion just privately with my stream, but on my stream, we said the same thing, that role queue would be extremely hard to implement, but like an intelligent matchmaker, where it just checks to make sure, you don't have like 4, Ana 1 tricks or something on your team. Just kind of like a sanity check. Would this team function if people want to play, their top 2 most played heroes, or is there too much overlap? But Surefour, you're kind of a guy who likes to propose solutions, or at least comment directly on balance. Did you have any kind of other suggestions or solutions to the problem with ranked being complete shit other than role queue?
Well, one of the problems that solo queue is always hard is it's usually not even a problem of like game balance or like what heroes are like introduced to the game. A lot of like the feeling of hopelessness people have, especially in a very team-based game, is because it is team-based and your performance completely relies on other people's performance. So like if anyone's played any MOBA like League of Legends or Dota 2, you can get these exact same feelings because you can do the best you can and still lose because it's the other people on your team that you need to do something to help you. And one of the ways to avoid that kind of feeling is like, some people get this feeling because they do really well and they think that win is deserved. And when they think it's deserved, that's when that kind of feeling of like frustration comes in, because that's when they start like being like, I should have won this game because I performed very well, but I didn't because of these guys over here. I think that's the main problem with solo queue and team-based games, and that's the frustration people have. Not always because of what the heroes in the game are. And that
is that fixable?
That kind of feeling is mostly a mindset thing for the most time. That you need to like think like, am I doing everything I need to do? Yes. Can I control these other people? There are ways to control it, like, hey, our comp is shit. Hey guys, I think we should switch to this comp. Like, say they go goats, and now you're frustrated they're goats, but you don't say anything like, hey guys, we should switch goats back. Then like you're getting frustrated for no reason because you're not like actually doing anything to like cause a fix to it. So you can either like say like swaps that might help you win. So like they go goats and you're like, hey guys, we should go goats too. But if you never say it, you're just gonna get frustrated yourself. But then it's like, if your problem itself is I don't like playing goats as a meta, then that's a different problem.
Seagull?
What I was going to say is the whole aspect that you're talking about, where you're trying to assist your team and micro your team constantly. From a
Mhm.
streamer perspective, doing that for 6 to 8+ hours a day is nearly impossible, because when you put that much emotional investment on every game, by the fifth game of people not doing it and your average day, you're just like, man, I'm just not even gonna bother. This is fucked, right? Because
Yeah.
you get tilted, and that's like, I think that's a normal human response. And then I don't know. I kind of forgot where I was going with the rest of this.
Okay, so I gotta wait for us to move on here. If we're looking at kind of ranked as a problem,
I'm smart,
Seagull,
chat.
you
Worry
don't
about
want to
it.
kind of propose any explicit solutions because you're not a developer. Surefour had his own suggestions. Would you rather the devs kind of focus on trying to fix solo queue through kind of little adjustments, or is it time that we add in alternatives to solo queue, like a 6v6 ladder, 6v6 tournaments like they have in League, in client team-based competitive modes that are kind of more similar to what happens in like pro play and contenders level? So would you rather, if
Well-
you had the option between fixing ranked and introducing something better than ranked, what would you prefer?
Well, I kind of want to ask Seagull a question real quick.
Yeah,
Do you
go ahead.
think the problem with ranked is because of how the game is designed itself, or because of the players themselves?
Why would it? In my opinion, players are not to blame for being toxic. I think the game design naturally makes people toxic towards each other, because I don't think inherently dicks play this game.
Well, I wasn't talking about whether people are toxic or not.
Yeah, if I can take a different perspective on this, I think that good game design takes into account the psychology of players. Kind of like from my background in aviation as well, planes are designed to fly despite the best efforts of the pilot, is what we kind of refer to it as. Is that the only way that a plane should crash is if a pilot makes a mistake. In the same way that the game design should account for player psychology and work towards a beneficial solution, unless people are just inherently trying to be malicious.
So I got lost. Are you trying to say like the structure influences behavior? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, that's so. Surefour is asking whether or not it's the fault of the game or the fault of the players, and my statement is basically that the game should take into account the psychology and kind of the emotions of the player.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think the community can do stuff about it. And I think the best way to do that is to either, okay, let's say you're in top 500. I wish we could just all have 6 stacks playing against each other.
Yes, all
That's the
day.
easy way to do it. There's custom pugs that people can set up. There's a lot of different avenues to make good content that sidesteps the issue that we're talking about, but that doesn't solve it for the rest of the game. Well, maybe you could somehow do it if you can make pug systems that popular for the rest of the game. But even then,
Working on it.
yeah, but even then, that's its own separate issue, right? Because now you're evolving the game from the in-game matchmaking to third-party services, and I'm not sure what Blizzard would think about that in the long term, because they would want to just fix the game.
Well, seems like we're agreeance on that point. What are the kind of so as a community, so as the people who are going to be listening to this either live, when it hits YouTube, when it's discussed on Twitter, what as a community is the best thing that we can do to help Blizzard find a solution?
I mean, the only way to like have a concrete solution is like you have 6 people playing competitively together with 6 people, but that's just how like Overwatch is as a game. It's like team based. But
Are we
like
talking
in a
to,
MOBA, if you play
Jayne
solo
and
queue, you're
Surefour,
gonna have
chat?
the same problems because sometimes you don't think the same as your other teammates, and that leads to uncoordination, which can lead to losses. And the same problem comes to Overwatch. I don't think like most of like the heroes or the designs of how the game is played right now is because of like I don't think Brig is inherently bad for the game. But a lot of people's gripes with Brig right now is she's very easy to use. But at the same time, you need easy characters or heroes in the game for a lot of the community. I mean, it's one of the reasons like Fortnite is so popular right now, because like it's very accessible. Because like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate hard counters and stuff, or like we need less counters, but like what's the only way to counter a tracer?
I really disagree with this chat.
Like how do you
with
create
the Fortnite
a
comment, but
hero
yeah.
that counters tracer without being in a hard counter? The only way you can counter it is with skill, but not everyone has skill.
I mean, to me, at the end of the day, Brigitta's healthy for the game, so we aren't playing dive all the time. Like, from a strategic meta POV, it's good. I just wish the counter wasn't so unfun to play against for the general population.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. Absolutely. Agree with
Everyone
that.
probably agrees with that. It's just like, it's very hard to counter someone that is uncounterable without being at a hard counter.
It's called nerf the
last-
shit out of Tracer. Delete her from the fucking game, dude.
So now you introduce a different thing where you just hate the fuck out of Tracer.
Hey, day one,
your
buddy.
Tracist history is showing
Day
up.
one.
Your Tracist history
I
is showing
saw
up.
it coming.
You've always been a Tracist.
Day one.
You've always been a Tracist.
Day one, bro. I was blaming Tracer for everything, and she enabled the dive meta for years. Was I wrong? No.
No, you're absolutely not.
But now you have something that counters her, but it just see this is what I have with like other things. Like have you played a lot of MOBAs before, Seagull?
A decent amount, but go ahead.
Well, it's just like a lot of people think of or want Overwatch to be like a traditional FPS game like Quake or like TF2 and stuff or like CS:GO, but it's just not because there's abilities. So it's like a combination of that, but it's more so a MOBA on my side because like most things are based on abilities, and there's only a few heroes that are only about aim, which is mostly like the hit scan heroes.
That is one of the things that makes the game more accessible than a traditional FPS.
And the other thing is, in MOBAs, every little hero addition or every little hero change completely changes the meta. Like, there can be one hero that gets introduced to the game, and now all of a sudden one hero can't be played at all anymore, even though they were like a mainstay originally.
I mean, it gets difficult talking about balance issues in MOBAs because players can balance the game themselves via the pick ban system. So if something is horribly overpowered, they just remove it. And so the developers of MOBA games can be a lot more free to go hard on balancing and do crazy stuff because they know even if they completely mess up the game, that hero will just get chain banned and they'll be fine. But
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I recommended early on, even before Brig was added, that I think we should have a ban system. At least one ban per team nowadays in Overwatch. I think there's enough heroes to do that now. Like, Tracer was this insane problem. You just ban Tracer until like they change her or something. Or like, say you hate Mercy, you ban Mercy.
Yeah, this was actually something that was brought up and being talked a lot about backstage at the World Cup. Is that I think Jake was the first one who brought it up.
It's been around a long time. People have been talking about it in the
your
pro
opinion
scene.
on like the potential pick ban phase in Overwatch, Seagull?
I mean,
if
you had enough heroes, yeah, the pick system gets weird to talk about because the moment you start talking about picks, then you can't flex, right? And you lose a lot of the nuance where like you want to play. It moves the strategy of the game to we can pick and choose the best heroes to play at every point in the map to which point do we want to focus on the most with our team composition, right? Let's say you're playing Ike, for example. If you play like a Rein Zarya comp on defense and you pick that and you commit to it, then obviously you have to play it pretty weird on second point with rotations, but it means you're going to be more of a third point defense team than a second point, right? And if a team picks Winston Diva, they're more of a first second type of team than a third point team, right? And so I don't like getting into the whole pick system. Bans are interesting, but I don't know if there's enough heroes in the game for it because if you just look at how many healers and tanks you have, a lot of the time, I mean, tanks are becoming a little bit better because now you have Hammond, so you have Orisa and Rein for your general shield tanks, and then you have Hammond, Winston, Diva for the mobility tanks. But healers, there's still not that many.
I think there's enough healers. I mean, say you ban Ana, you still have Mercy Lucio. You still have Zen Lucio. Say you ban Zen, you still have Mercy Lucio. You still have Ana Lucio. Like, you still have enough for having an offensive ultimate / utility ultimate and a defensive ultimate.
It's just it gets difficult because, well, I'll mention the other thing really quick that I wanted to talk about picks I forgot was a lot of the heroes in Overwatch are specialists that you only use for certain situations. Those would just almost never get picked. And it reduces those, it kind of pushes those heroes out of the game a bit more. But of course, Blizzard is already pushing those specialists out of the game themselves, right? Because they're trying to make these heroes more generally viable. Like now they're trying to push that Torb to be more of a generalist hero. Symmetra's a hell of a lot more generally viable than she used to be. And yeah, so that's the pick thing. But for bans, there could be enough heroes. I don't know. Like, how many bans would you want to see?
Just one
Probably
per
like the
team
one that was being discussed was one per team.
at the moment because there's
Yeah.
not enough heroes.
So, then there's the same argument, like, even if it was one ban per team, what happens if the two bans are Brigitta and Diva? Or what if the two bans are Lucio and Zenyatta?
Brigitta
Like,
and
what
Diva,
does
then
the game even
game's
look
good
like?
again.
Well, it'd certainly
Ban
be
Brigitta and
interesting.
Diva in the Overwatch,
Ban
now
Brig.
playable.
Ban Brig and Diva, and now Hitscan can actually play the game.
Coming, signed Hitscan gang, right?
I'm everything, gang. Okay. Don't
Oh,
get me started on
okay. Seagull, one ban per team. Thoughts?
I just don't know if there's enough heroes in the game for it. And I don't know. I don't even know what that would look like. I would love to do a pug system with it and just see how crazy the game would get, because it'd be fun one of these days.
I mean,
we're running pugs. That's like the main focus of my stream next week. We have a new pug server. If you want to, I'm going to take you up on that offer if you're interested.
Hit me.
Play pugs next week.
Do one ban per team. If you're curious about it, you can actually, if you have a custom pug setup and you have GM plus players doing it, then you can do weird stuff like that and just try it and see what happens.
Yeah, we actually tried this. So we have semi-pro pugs set up for North America. We're implementing them for Europe next week. But on Sunday, we actually did the first experimentation with one ban per team. It was funny. One game actually ended up having Soldier and Mercy banned. It was like targeted one-trick bans. But then the other game, the game does get completely out of control.
Self-promotion, lol, chat.
That we saw where Diva was banned as a pick. The game was, I guess nobody really knew how to play in a world without Diva. But, people, any change drastic like that, which would completely not only change the meta, but the play style and the strategic way of looking at the game, you'd have to not only know metas for the current state of Overwatch, but you'd have to know what's strong when you remove one hero or when these two combinations here. So like the required depth of knowledge in order to play Overwatch at the highest level in terms of a one ban per team system would be incredibly challenging.
I mean, it'd be interesting at least. It'd be really weird.
I think we should experiment with it. I think it'd be a fun thing to try. More experimentation needed. Well, anybody else? Or should I bring up stats, or did anybody have more comments on like bans and
I
potential
was gonna
balancing
ask
for
a
rank?
question.
Go ahead, Surefour.
So is your one of your gripes with like hard counters and stuff is because the hard counters are like low skill?
I think it removes a lot of the depth to the game, because you just know that no matter what you do, you just have to swap instead of being able to play against it.
Yeah, I'm with Seagull on that one. I like the skill-based matchup. You used the Widowmaker and the Pharah example. I love that example because, on paper, Widowmaker hard counters Pharah, assuming there's like no map geometry and no other teammates around. But there are ways that Pharah can play in order to have the advantage or beat the Widow in that more or less 1v1 matchup during a 6v6 game. But if you have, even in that 6v6 matchup, so even when you introduce the factors of smart play, even when you introduce the factors of map geometry or teammates or play style, none of that matters in trying to allow Tracer to perform against a Brigitta, and the only solution does become swapping. And when we get to like the higher level, like the pro meta right now, being that kind of goats trumps Brig McCree, which trumps dive, which trumps goats, that requires a lot of coordination that doesn't just do a rock, paper, scissors at the individual hero level, but at the compositional level, and ranked will never, ever come close to touching that level of coordination so long as there's solo queue.
So one of the solutions would be you want heroes that are introduced to be more skill-based rather than easily accessible.
That's how I interpreted it, is that you wanted more skill-based matchups, not kind of rock, paper, scissors matchups. Is that correct, Seagull?
Yeah, and I think Blizzard already sees that, because I think they talked about that with, I think it was Jeff doing an interview with Emong at BlizzCon. I think they already talked about how they were they knew that a lot of the heroes they implemented, they got a little bit too crazy with them and they wanted to tone it down a little bit. And I'm pretty confident they know that was already an issue. And that's why when they released Ashe, like they're going back to that type of game and the type of heroes that they want to move, because they probably know that they moved too far away from those like FPS based heroes, and now we have too many ability based heroes, which are meta, and so now they're just trying to move back those FPS characters. They're just adding more to the game. They'll probably become more part of the meta, stuff like that. Of course, that's a different story of whether or not Ashe is fun to play against, because I personally think snipers are always unfun to play against. And I know she's not really a hardcore sniper, but we'll see.
Well, snipers are always unfun to play against because they instill hopelessness into the person that's getting shot in the head, and that's why I like playing snipers.
I'm just thinking of okay, I'm a ladder POV type of player these days, right? There's just going to be that duo queue of, I don't even know, Surefour plus Unco or something, and then Unco's just going to go pocket Surefour as a mercy amp and just one tap everyone, and I'm sitting there like, okay, cool.
I mean, one of the problems is like I feel like the easiest role to be able to add those high-skilled heroes to is, of course, DPS, because you know that's DPS aim and DPS kill people. But like, how do you make a tank hero that's skill-based in a way?
Hammond is a good example. I think most of the, well, not a lot of the tank skill isn't specifically in the it's not the FPS mechanics, because it's not like any of the tanks, like Hammond takes a crap ton of mechanical skill. He's one of the like few exceptions, I think. And Ryan does, but that's all about mind games, right? Because otherwise he's just right clicking and left clicking. Yeah. And so they require the different kind of skill. Like they're already super skill based. I think you actually see the most skill differentiation on tanks for the most part in Overwatch, because they set up the rest of the team. It's like DPS can't really do anything unless your tanks do something the vast majority of the time. And so
the most important role.
And if your tanks are doing well, then yeah, a lot of the time. The differentiation that I see in skill between tanks is massive. Like I can't tell the difference most of the time between the best DPS in Overwatch League, because a lot of the time I'm sitting there and I'm watching them. It's like, yeah, I know they're both really freaking good. They're both gonna pop off, but the opportunities they're given to pop off are given to them by their tanks and their supports 90% of the time. They're just the backbone of the team, and DPS are plug and play. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like I do the same thing where like you're watching a DPS and it's like the only thing you can actually like see is like their aim, but like being able to see their decision making based on how everyone else is playing is very hard, because you can't see everything else that is happening unless you're like actually like asking them, why are you doing this at this moment? Whereas tanks, it's very obvious because like, hey, they jumped here, they did this to cause this.
Their decision making is a lot more visual.
It's visual and like easily to articulate because it's mostly their abilities that they use. And I feel like Brig can be changed and still can be like add a skill. Like one of my changes I want on Brig is to have like a 0.4 or 0.3 second bash, like a startup time, like it revs up.
That makes her useless for Tracer, though. The whole point of it being instant is so she can counter Tracer.
I don't think it makes it useless for Tracer. Like right now, even like when Tracers go against Brig, most Tracers don't get hit by shield bash unless like she's hiding around a corner and then just instantly bashes her.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Brig works against Tracer because she's a deterrent. It's like the same way like McCree somehow like somewhat counters Tracer, like with a flashbang. You get hit by a flashbang, you're dead. But there's a travel time to the flashbang. So like a McCree, like one-on-one, will like most of the time not kill a Tracer unless it's just pure left clicks. Brig versus Tracer one-on-one is just like a standstill. Like she has a shield, she has a bunch of stuff that like stops him, but like so most of the time Brig will not kill Tracer. It's just that the threat of the shield bash and the threat of a flashbang makes it so Tracer can't do whatever she wants. And the reason I want like a 0.3 second, so it's still fast, but you can still kind of counterplay it. So like I think one of the problems right now, even before they add the shield thing, is Brig, when Brig's going up to a Rhine, she has her shield. There's no way of telling when she's actually gonna stun. It's literally just like, oh she could stun, she could stun, bam, stun. So but if there's like a 0.3 second cooldown where like her back like jets start revving up and you're like, oh the stun's coming. As Zarya,
yeah, like a charge animation.
Yeah, as Zarya, you could now tell when she's gonna like bash, and then you could bubble it and then block the bash shatter. But right now it's like, oh Brig's right in my face and I'm Zarya, I'm like I used bubble at the wrong time. Okay, they waited up bash shatter.
You want the delay added to Brigitta so that there's more counterplay.
Yeah, there's like things to think about.
Well,
Because
it's like
right now it's instantaneous. Like
Yeah.
what if McCree's flashbang was like just like instant? Like a McCree gets close, it's just like now you're stunned, now you're dead. But right now, a Tracer can blink in and then blink out to bait it. Or like a Brig is like revving up, he can like, you know, blink away from it. But that's why I want it like a 0.3 seconds. So it's still quick. So you have to have like really good reaction time to dodge it, but it is still enough to have a reaction time to play against it. And I feel that that's one of the things that can make Brig still accessible, but to have like skill to it.
So I actually just got a donation, which is pretty interesting. He says, you know, a mechanic that Battle Right uses a lot around these types of abilities with windups is that you have the ability to cancel the windup and have a much shorter cooldown. So let's say you do this sort of windup and you can sort of mind game the Tracer into blinking, then you can cancel it and maybe it's only like a 3 or 4 second cooldown instead of the 7 seconds.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
That's what I liked about Battle Right. Battle Right is very skill based. But I think the problem isn't how the characters are designed per se. It's just you need things that involve counterplay to them.
So
like
more kind of wind-ups or signaling that you're going to do something, the ability to cancel it for a reduced penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of, you're introducing counterplay, and then there's a counter to that counterplay.
Yep. But it doesn't make the character inherently useless. It still makes her strengths strong.
I mean,
I'd buy that for $1.
Fundamentally, the big issue that you're talking about is like, okay, we're talking about Goat's mirrors. There's Brigitta's about to stun Orion, and they're almost perpetually always in stun range. At any point, they can just click and stun them. But if they get stunned and you bubble after, your whole team's still going to get shattered. But but the Ryan won't. It's like, okay, cool. I guess he can shield afterwards or something. But you just want to have that opportunity to be like, I know they're going to stun, and I can bubble it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I like that too. But I just get so worried about Tracer.
Well, she still counters Tracer because of all of her AoE healing, her armor, and the deterrence of the stun. Like McCree's my biggest example.
The stun would
of it.
be easier for Tracer to dodge, but it would still be a threat in the same way that Flashbang and Roadhog Hook are.
Yeah,
And that
because
would
like,
also kind of make it more of a skill-based matchup like you wanted Seagull, in the fact that if a Tracer can kind of dodge or bait out that stun, then they can go in a lot harder.
It's already, like when I talk about my video, like good Tracers don't even get hit by Brigitta unless the Brigitta's third personing or the Tracer messes up, because that's just how it is right now. So wind up or not, that's just kind of how it is already played. And I'd just be worried about the deterrent factor with a wind up, Brigitta versus Tracer. Could she just be a lot more cocky about it?
well, she can be
Tracer.
cocky, sure, but like then that's why you have a team with you. I mean, like that's why it's like you can't think of things as like 1v1 scenarios. Like 1v1, Tracer's gonna win every single matchup in the entire game because Tracer just has so much to her kit. But because Brig adds this deterrence, she can stay near her supports and not make it so she can just go in and do whatever she wants. It's the same reason like when you have a McCree near your supports.
So the McCree gets one clip.
I mean, technically, a Brig can get one clip if she's not paying attention. And the Tracer's really good.
Sure.
But, you know, that's just how Overwatch is.
Shall we move on to talking about ults or stats?
You do you, host Jayne.
Okay. I'm
Jayne's
just gonna
the
pretend
host
to.
now.
I'm just gonna pretend to be the moderator here. So there's two topics from your video that we haven't covered yet: the statement that you felt ultimates were too impactful, and statistics. So let's do ultimates first. This isn't the first time the discussion has come up. Like previously, I don't remember what the original nerf to ultimate charge was, but ultimates used to come online a lot more. So Seagull, just to clarify your position, do you think that there are too many ultimates? Like somebody gave me a stat here earlier, and they said that in the Overwatch League, the amount of ultimates used is 25 per 10 minutes. So 2.5 ultimates per minute, basically. So was your argument in the video that there are too many ultimates and that the charge rate is too quickly, or that the ultimates themselves are too impactful?
Even if you change the charge rate, it doesn't change the fact. The feeling I want to address is helplessness and frustration that the other team has more ults than you do, and you feel like you're at such a severe disadvantage going into the team fight that it's almost already lost. And note, this is specifically for a solo queue environment where most of your team's going to be autopiloting unless you're specifically microing all of them, even at a top 500 level, right? Because pros have plans for that sort of thing, and you
Absolutely.
and all of that other stuff, but solo queue doesn't. And so this, for my video, what I'm talking about specifically is those solo queue aspects. And so for me personally, I think ults themselves are too powerful. And when you start tweaking with charge times, you start implementing problems for the lower tier players who just suck at the game and can't build their ults.
So is this kind of similar to the conversation where you want skill-based matchups rather than hard counter matchups? Is that you want ultimates to be less powerful so that there's more counter plays that don't actually involve ultimates themselves?
Yes, that is the easiest way to put it.
Okay, Surefour, thoughts?
I mean, I've always thought ultimates are too much. I've even suggested that you're only allowed to use one ultimate per game, but even buff everyone's ultimate because of it.
One ultimate per game.
Yep.
That's a little over the top. I just, okay, we all thought, I don't know. I've talked about this with many pro players who have started playing this game, right? Did anyone ever expect when you started playing Overwatch for the first time, right? It's called an ultimate, that you just have it every minute and a half or every minute. It feels so weird. And no one ever really, that's just speaking strictly to charge rates. But that's the first, I don't know of anyone who expected that when they first started playing the game.
I don't know. This is kind of, I played, the competitive experience for me previously was MMOs that didn't have ultimates, so I have no frame of reference to know whether that's large or small amounts of time.
I mean, if you really want, you can just do what MOBAs do and put it on a timer.
Just a straight up timer?
Yep.
No charge rate change depending on performance?
Yep.
Well, that becomes its own problem because that's a huge mechanic in the game that they wanted just ults to be, the charge rate is skill based and you do damage. And like once it becomes only timers, it's not as fun, I think, for a lot of people. But it also removes a lot of the snowballing.
It's a lot more predictable because I think also in MOBAs, you can't see when they have their ultimates. You can see when they have like flash and shit.
I mean, the thing is, like, you say ultimates are really bad, and you like the fact there's like a charge up based on how much performance you're doing, but
Yeah.
that inherently promotes snowballing because if you win first fight immediately, you can cycle ults, and no matter what the other team does or how they perform, they're gonna get cycled. But if you add a timer to ultimates, then everyone will get ults at the same time, and the more skill-based team that uses their ults correctly will win. So, but even if you don't use your ults, you will still have it after because theirs is going to be on cooldown, and they won't get to snowball after.
So, the very first fight, or within the first 2 minutes, you would have perfect knowledge of the exact second that everybody's getting their ultimate.
Yep. And right now, the problem is like, with high-level gameplay with supports, is you have to like accurately determine how much damage your team took for the other person, and can kind of guess how much ults they have.
So it changes tracking from right now, kind of like a half science, half art, between knowing the charge rates and knowing how much damage they did, into kind of just memorizing the exact seconds that these abilities were used and knowing when they're going to be back off cooldown. So,
and the only way to really stop performance-based alt charge snowballing is if you just make alt charge take way longer to get, but then that still doesn't fix the problem because any team that's doing better will still get more ults faster than the other person.
Yeah, you could have it where you that timer doesn't tick while you're dead, or do a whole bunch of different things. What are your thoughts on these ideas? We could also test these in a pug, actually, couldn't we? Because you can change ult charge rate.
Except the like timer-based system.
You could just have timer based off passive charge and hit active charge to 0 in a custom. You could set that up that way.
Nice.
So you could you could implement these changes in a custom game to see if they would work. But Seagull, Surefour and I have been chatting. What are you thinking?
I don't know. It gets hard to talk about because I do enjoy that feeling of if you're good at the game, you get more ults. But I'm not a fan of that ult being so powerful that it reduces the depth and nuance in the game. And so I enjoy that feeling. And to me, that's sort of one of the core mechanics of Overwatch they designed from the very beginning. And once you start tweaking that sort of thing, it messes with a lot of stuff in the game. So
yeah, it wouldn't make the game necessarily worse or better. It just makes the game different, massively different from how it's played right now.
Well, that's what I mean by I like talking about like solutions in a way, because like you don't have to have like 100% like I want it to be this way. That's why like it's not like I want ultimates to be on a timer-based system. I'm like that's another thought. That's like something they could work off. That's like a different perspective on what it could be. But right now you don't like ultimates or you don't like how powerful they are. So do you want like ultimates to be toned down? Do you want ultimates to be gained slower?
I don't know. Yeah, I think ults should be toned down. That's just my general opinion because I think they're too powerful. I don't know what to do outside of that.
Yeah. So I like I'm not saying like when I say solution, it's not like a concrete thing you need. Like even you just saying, I think ults are too powerful. I want them to be toned down more. That's a quote unquote solution. Solution is toning them down.
Yeah, and a better player, better player will not only have their ultimates more often, but will get more value out of their ultimates. So one of the problems that you were talking about, especially on Koth or control maps, was that snowballing. Better players will still have that same advantage from being more skillful with it, but will not have the more the additional advantage of getting that ultimate, in which is going to get more value more often. So it also kind of ties in two of your points together. So I can see the logic behind this. Everyone's thinking really hard.
I don't
Big
have that
chat
much
is
to
too.
talk about it because I don't really know what to bring up about it. Like, I don't like messing or tweaking massive base mechanics of the game like that because to me that is also kind of what Overwatch is. And then I want ults to be nerfed across the board because they're too powerful and they reduce the amount of depth and strategy of the game. I've stuck to that same stance this whole time, and that's just how I feel.
You don't like proposing solutions. I like trying to test as many different solutions as possible. Different ways of approaching the same problem. But the last topic that we had to talk about was statistics and the kind of inherent lack thereof. I actually tried to teach myself Dota after watching Surefour play it. By the way, I suck. But one of the things that amazed me about Dota was just the sheer quantity of post-game statistics that it gave you, like just from like tutorial games and things, and where you don't even get a post-stats screen. We don't even have a match history in Overwatch. Of course, these are like massive quality of life improvements, but kind of for what other reasons did you want stats added into the game, Seagull?
I want all the stats the casters have access to. We all know they have access a lot of in-depth statistics behind the scenes in Overwatch League. I want that in the game. I want to see that every game. I actually think not having those statistics makes the game more toxic more often than not. Because people don't know what the problems are. They can't solve them. People are blind. They blame each other for stuff they don't know anything about. And then on top of that, I like being able to see that data. And when I first started playing this game, and I don't know if this is true for other people, I found it very hard to figure out if I was performing well or not because I had no stats available to me. And so, what they could do is just, there's different levels of stats where it's like, maybe you want certain stats available during the game, and maybe you only want some stats available after the game. And I think some games do it that way. I think League of Legends has certain stats that are only available post-game. I don't remember. But right now it's just like, oh, I have golds, I do well, forehead, and that's kind of it.
Every losing team has someone with gold medals.
I don't even think stats are important in Overwatch, to be honest.
You don't think stats are important in
No,
Overwatch?
I think
okay.
There's way too many variables in Overwatch that actually like affect something being good or not. Like a damage stat, for example. Like say there's a McCree that's shooting at a Rhine shield the whole time, stacking up damage, blah, bang, 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 bang. Then there's a McCree that's flanking and trying to pick off people.
That shows itself in final blows and flank and solo kills versus damage done. And you can even break down that damage into effective damage that's immediately healed versus damage that goes towards kills, stuff like that. Once you have enough stats, you can break down even the most crazy game like Overwatch.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Like, for example, I think most of it is based on like what your reasons for doing something on a team are. And it was like one of the reasons I didn't want stats, or like I couldn't think of stats. Like the best thing to do is for like a tank player. Like, say there's a Winston that's constantly diving their backline and just ticking up damage, ticking up a limbs maybe. And then there's a Winston that is more like peeling or like doing pressure jumps, like a Winston that's jumping in between their supports and just like denying space. The Winston that's denying space won't get a lot of damage in a limbs, but maybe by denying that space, the enemy's tanks are dying more because of it, but it's not directly reflected in his stats.
Wouldn't I be able to tell that based on how much damage taken the Winston has? Because the Winston that's more aggressive will take more damage and require more healing, and I will be able to see that based on those stats that one or the other requires more healing due to their playstyle.
I think if we look at this in a different way, I can kind of actually see where Surefour's coming here now. Like if we're looking at the use case for Brigitta in GOATS just racks up statistics like crazy. But in the last season of Contenders, if you have Brigitta being played in the Brigitta on a dive defense combination, that Brigitta is going to be playing the way that needs to be played in order to win, but their statistics when compared to a Brigitta in GOATS or even a Brigitta who is trying to be a much more aggressive might have higher stats, but would lose more fights and lose more games because they're not fulfilling that role of protecting their Ana. So I think what Surefour is trying to say is that there are playstyles out there that are good playstyles, will result in more victories than losses, but don't get reflected in stats.
The only stat I've really always wanted to see is percentage of healing received. So like, say there is a main tank that is getting a shit ton of healing and like getting most of the orb preference or most of the anti-heals, and then like that shows like this guy was taking 80% of the healing. I think percentage of like healing is a stat that's very important because then you know who most of like the resources are being given to. I think like stats that go towards how people use their abilities towards certain teammates are good because then you know where most of the like the influence is being given to. Like for example, if you have that stat for like New York Excelsior, for example, you know that Jonak is getting damage boosted and healed most of the time, and then for their tanks, you'd probably see their healing is not being like given to them that much. So you know, oh, Jonak needs to perform and is performing this well because he's getting this amount of resources.
So I agreed with you previously, but now counterpoint to your own point, Surefour. I'm just going to be an asshole and play devil advocate.
Oh, that's
Stats aren't going to lie to you. They're only just they're going to tell you a story, and it might not be the full story.
Yeah.
But if you have, footage of the game, or if you played in the game, you can probably say that, this person didn't have so many eliminations because their playstyles like this, or because they were doing these different things, or, they were getting healed more, or if you did have those more in detailed stats. I don't think that having stats won't tell you everything, but it's not going to lie to you as long as you interpret them correctly.
Yeah, and then the problem comes to whether the person interpreting the stats actually understands the stats or not, which I think most of the people in Overwatch do not have that level of thinking to be able to interpret them correctly.
Is that just because they don't have stats to ever look at, and so naturally they don't have the skill of looking at stats?
I think even if they had the stats, I don't think they could interpret it correctly.
Do you think that people would just kind of see the stats? They already have a conclusion. The conclusion in their head is that their Winston is throwing. They see that Winston doesn't have good stats in this regard because they were playing differently, and they're going to use that as an excuse or as evidence to be toxic and blame the Winston?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like in Overwatch having stats is the same thing as not having stats in terms of blaming people.
So you think there's no difference between blaming people about whether we had stats or didn't have stats?
Yeah, in my opinion, in Overwatch exclusively, yes.
Okay.
I'm like the complete opposite, because from my experience of looking at stats and everything involved with players, the number one easiest stat to determine player performance right now, with the minimal stats available, unless you're an Overwatch League team looking at the stats back end stuff, it is usually just how often are you dying? This is the easiest predictor of player performance or what is going on within a team. Where it's like, okay, if my Ana or Mercy were hitting 10 plus deaths, that means our backline is getting shredded. We need to figure out why, and stuff like that. But we don't even have that in the basic scoreboard to just be like, My Ana's died like 15 times. I need to protect my Ana better. I need to go look at where this Doomfist is coming in or whatever. And from my experience, I just think, regardless of anything, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm scared to present information because there are people who are stupid and will look at them wrong. Because I think that's just a weird way of looking at things. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like babying people almost.
Well, it's
You
not that
know,
I think they're stupid. It's just I think Overwatch, even for like the highest players, is very hard to like articulate solutions without like looking at the VOD in third person in a way. Because like as a DPS, I don't always know what's happening to the back line, or I don't always know what's happening in the front line.
And this problem is also much more broad than just kind of like ranked versus Overwatch League. But if you're looking at kind of like tier 2 and tier 3 teams, like actual academy teams don't even have access to these stats. And with tools like Visor and Pursuit and Overtrack and all of those being banned, unless you're doing kind of like manual stat recording yourself, then even kind of the teams that are trying to become pro don't have access to these sort of statistics. And for those people who do have the knowledge to make use of them, they're still completely inaccessible.
Yeah, it gets really awkward for people doing tryouts, especially because what are those people doing tryouts even get for Overwatch League teams or Academy teams? It's like, okay, you ask them to record a VOD and then you watch their VOD later, plus your own spectator VOD. You don't even have a replay to see the full picture a lot of the time. It just gets really awkward for everyone.
Yep.
So I'm not saying we shouldn't get stats, like all these open stats or whatever the Overwatch League happens. I'm just saying it won't fix the problem of people being toxic or not.
Well, I think even if toxicity is directed at a number which people are interpreting incorrectly, it's still typically going to be a problem of some kind. And at least then it's directed towards something that people can fix, rather than it's just like, okay, our Ana's dying a lot, or hey, our Hanzo's doing no damage in the last 2 team fights. Why is this? You know, they can look at that and then they could slowly figure it out. I have more faith in people to interpret stats correctly, because I think the Overwatch community is older at this point, and I think if stats were available earlier on, there's obviously going to be a learning curve for the community to get used to stats and how to use them appropriately, especially in a solo queue environment. But I don't know, if people are toxic now, like what's the big deal? I don't know. Like, they're already, people are dicks to each other naturally in a solo queue environment in the decent amount of my games. So what's the big deal in having stats? Like, is it really going to make it worse? I don't have those.
I don't think it'll make it worse.
I don't think it'll make it worse.
It'll
I think
just
there's
make it
only
the same.
benefits. I think
then
there's
at
only
least
benefits to it.
then at least I get to see what's really happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think we've covered every single point in the video, unless Surefour or Seagull, you want to bring up other topics to discuss regarding ranked.
There was one
the game
topic
as a whole.
I didn't bring up in that video.
Oh,
Let's hear it.
Well, I didn't bring it up because it's another personal one, similar to, I believe, Ultra Too Powerful. I believe there are too many scenarios in the game where one team has an overwhelming spawn advantage compared to the other team, and that's why ultimates need to be this powerful in the first place a lot of the time. The most obvious ones are 2CP, right? Anubis, Volskaya, second point, all the second points in the game. And then also at the end of every second checkpoint on every single payload map, people get stalled. Second point Dorado, second point Gibraltar, second point Rialto, second point Blizzard World, every single one. It, without a doubt, almost every single end of checkpoint fight in Overwatch is extremely difficult to take over unless you have an overwhelming spawn advantage or ult advantage to break the enemy spawn advantage. That's how Overwatch works. So you have to win a fight decisively using ults, like I would say at least, a decent amount of the time, because if you don't and the fight drags on, then you have to kill their team twice.
I
think
feel like that's
everyone
kind of
can
game
agree with that.
design.
And
That's more of a game design thing or
I
map
feel like that's
design
game
thing.
design.
Sure, but I would argue that because of that, a lot of people, it's another feeling of powerlessness where if you aren't working together as a team to decisively win a team fight, and that spawn advantage takes away from a single person's ability to carry. I didn't put that in the video because it's more of a smaller point than the other ones, and I feel like people would get caught up in it. But since we're just kind of chatting casually about stuff, I figured I'd bring it up.
I mean, one of my solutions that I've thought of with the second point payload is on second point spawns, there is a defenders only access to like the third area, whereas if they get stuck and spawn in there, they can just climb or like walk through that tunnel and just be safe without the
Yeah,
offenders
that
being
is
able to go
another.
through
That's
there.
another part I didn't bring up. That's another smaller aspect. You're talking about like, you know, first point Gibraltar, you cap, and now you get another 5 free kills, and you get to snowball harder because they're walking out of spawn one by one.
Yeah.
So,
Those
like,
spawns are bullshit.
Say that second point Gibraltar, you spawn there, and then there's like a tunnel that only the defenders can go through to be able to go like up to second.
Yeah, or just a Symmetra TP that just spawns and goes to the next spawn.
Yeah.
Something like that. I completely agree with that. I remember people were talking about those early on in Overwatch, and I feel like a lot of people stopped having those discussions early on in Overwatch because we started playing professionally, and then you stop thinking about why is this silly versus, well, I have to get good at it, and the mentality changes really fast.
No,
Yes.
I've always hated that, and
Well.
I've wanted to change it, but like,
That's definitely been my mentality the entire time, is that when I'm kind of working as a part of a team or as a coach or whatnot, it doesn't matter what's fun, it doesn't matter if it's balanced, it doesn't matter if it's fair. You use what you have available to you to win. So
and then 2CP is kind of just 2CP. We've been trying to fix that for a long time.
I mean, that's, yeah.
And I think one of the reasons we tolerate 2CP so much is because it has gotten better. It's still awful, right?
Well, they had to implement
But it
all of
used to
these.
be way, way worse.
Well, they had to implement all of these insane mechanics to counter it.
Yeah, like the increasing spawn time, which is still the most.
It's the most hidden mechanic in the
opaque
game
and
that
hidden
no
thing
one
ever.
knows about if you're a casual player. It's like, oh, at a certain time period, if I sit on this point,
yeah.
the defense spawns increase at a linear rate, which I don't know about. But all I know is if I fight
actually
them
gonna
long
throw
enough,
a
they
poll
stop.
up. I'm going to throw a poll up. My chat might be biased because I've talked about this mechanic before. So the mechanic for 2CP defense, chats, I guess, plural, if you guys didn't know, was that if the attackers have more people on the point than the defenders on the second point, the defender's spawn time increases. And one of the crazy things about this is this happens on Assault at all. It's not just the second point. So if you can cap the first point after you had that player advantage, so if there was like one defender and they're trying like trickling on one at a time onto the first point, like 2CPA, but then they die, then that time doesn't reset. So if you move from first to second point fast enough, that increased defender spawn remains between first and second point. So the defenders are at a horrific advantage in this sort of snowball.
It's the
So I'm
double
just gonna-
snowball because it's the first, the spawn advantage snowball, and then the second, the ult advantage snowball if you win the first fight. It's really hardcore.
I've talked about it multiple times, and CarQ
Doesn't it
most
also
recently
apply to payload?
Does it apply to payload? If it does, then
Yeah,
I'm not
didn't
aware.
CarQ put out a video on how it applied to payload? I forget.
CarQ did put out a video, but I don't remember if it was payload as well.
I honestly don't remember. And the fact is, if I'm a professional, former pro player, and I don't even know all the depths to this one mechanic that's that insane, isn't that just proof of how ridiculous this mechanic is? That's how far
Well, it's also
we
the-
had
it's-
to go to stop spawn advantage and 2CP spawns instead of just being like, hey guys, why don't we just implement like different timered spawns at different areas of the map? It's like, I don't know, man.
Oh man. Oh man, what was I gonna say? Fuck. Shit. I lost my train of thought. Damn. Oh, just the documentation in Overwatch is just so minimal, and then apparently like Hanzo's Dragon Strike was in the wiki as being 200 DPS for like over a year, and then only once Hanzo actually came into the meta and it started being like grab dragon every fight, that the pro teams took a look at this and they're like, guys, it's actually like 287.5 damage per second. So like we have the wikis and they're based off of patch notes, but the documentation itself is very inconsistent. So yeah, like if where would you find, is there anywhere on a Blizzard official documentation or website where it details the mechanic of the increasing defender spawn? I don't think there is.
Good luck. We just have asked CarQ to do some more videos.
Yeah, just get CarQ to make Blizzard's documentation
Oh.
easy.
I actually got I mentioned a stat about Koth snowballs in my video. I have a more insane stat. Do you want to know about it? There was just message to me.
I would love to.
The team that gets the first kill in a Koth round wins it 61.5% of the time.
Yep.
Not even the team fight, it's the first kill.
Well, that's because once
Interesting.
it becomes a 5v6.
It's yeah. Well, once
it's
you get the
very
first
easy to
kill,
win
you win
first
those
fight.
70%. I think it's not 70. I think it might be a little less than that, but that's how crazy the snowball gets on Koth, I think.
So if you're wizard, you're not trying to win games. You're just trying to not die first, and then statistically, you have the advantage.
I mean, I've always been on the belief that Overwatch is about not dying more than getting kills.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of the cost snowball stuff I simplified in the video because the game duration makes it so that, I mean, I think everyone in the pro scene knows it, right? You win first fight, you have enough ults until it gets to almost 100 to 0, where if you play it properly, you have ult advantage. And then they have ult advantage for almost the 99-99 by that point, right? But then at the very last team fight of the entire round, you have ult advantage because you won the point first, and therefore you have that advantage in that last fight. And that's sort of the snowball I'm talking about relating to game duration. But the other one is just straight up positional advantage on a lot of these maps, where I think it was Beezy who did a breakdown on Koth win rates. And it was something like some of the maps, like Oasis, were like below 60% if you won first round. I forget which area of Oasis. But then Lijiang Control Center was something like 75% or higher in Overwatch League. Just because of the positional advantage.
It's because the maps are completely mirrored, so it's like you already know. And there's so many chokes on Koth that's like you only usually come from like 2 or 3 directions.
I like talking about these topics, chat. It's fun.
Did we cover everything?
Probably. I don't even... now I just want to go brush up on this spawn mechanic because I actually forgot whether or not it works on payload. And I'm just like, wait a second.
Bring Karku's video up, the unofficial Blizzard documentation.
I guess so.
Yeah, right? Man. Well, and, you know, one of the big things is that, like, a lot of the changes historically came in when, like, the pros themselves and the communities kind of aligned on what they wanted to have happen. But, like, right now, even between the three of us, like, we can say that this is wrong, or I don't like it, or something needs to change, but, you know, without kind of everyone being on the same page and recognizing what the biggest thing we need to fix is and how, or at least kind of suggestions of the direction we want things to move in, it's going to be hard. I do not envy Blizzard's position right now. That's
I'm just of the
certainly
position
case.
where you can complain,
Yeah.
but if you don't offer like at least some guidance or solution of what you want, they could just change something and then you could just like be mad at them even more.
Yeah. Do you think we're at the point where Blizzard would you be okay with Blizzard kind of radically changing Overwatch to like suddenly just something fundamental about the game change? Like, would you be okay with them completely changing defender spawn as well as kind of like making ults on a timer instead of at a charge rate? Would you be okay with Blizzard just completely upsetting the current meta or understanding of the game just to see what happens? Kind of like how Fortnite with the glider redeployed. Like,
I would love
glider's
to
redeployed.
see just a big Blizzard is usually really good at having just big patches just to mess with stuff. Where, I mean, I look at their other games, like Heroes and Diablo and other games where they implement like big 2.0 patches. They're pretty good when it comes to that. I didn't bring this up in the video, but it is another aspect of Blizzard that I think they like to get things too polished before they put stuff into the game a lot of the time. And so it means they move very slow. And this is why issues like, why did we have to have the Mercy meta for like 10 months? Why was that a thing? I swear that reduced most of my enjoyment of the game. If I was a support player and I didn't play Mercy, I would have probably just quit the game during that time period and just come back later, right? And I think sometimes they get overly cautious about stuff because they want to play it too safe.
Well, Mercy is one of the most loved heroes in the game. And when she was made very meta, making her not meta caused the outrage.
But like it's funny because all of the casual Mercy players zerged the forums and were like, I can't believe they did this to Mercy. How could they? Blah, 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 right? But it's like, they're doing all that to Mercy, but she actually became the greatest Mercy in the fucking world, right? So, is this happening? Are we adding Felix?
Yes,
If
he
he's in my
answers
Twitch
it.
chat.
Okay, cool. I'm actually gonna use the bathroom. Then I'll be right back.
Okay, well, it's just,
I'm ready for the Felix podcast right now. Be right back.
You're ready for the Felix podcast?
Let's see what XQC has to say.
Yo,
Yeah, what's up?
How you doing, Felix?
great. I just thought I'd join in, and since I didn't catch like most of the conversation, I'll just let you guys talk, and whenever I have like a good flow,
We're pretty much kind of done.
Yeah. Have you seen Seagull's video?
I've seen it. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's as aggressive as you'll hear Seagull, I think.
That's what I said. But
Yeah.
as aggressive as you'll hear Seagull be. He's just in the
Mm.
washroom or grabbing a drink. I don't know, but
He went washroom.
Did
I guess
you know what I want to say? I don't know if you guys talked about that, but it was fun for me to see. I'll fix the bug with something with the shatter, right? And I just realized that every couple months we'll have a patch that fixes Ryan shatter, but it only makes it worse, right?
yeah,
I'm like,
they've
dude,
tried that quite a few times now.
They just scrape the whole thing, dude. Just burn it to the ground and just build it up because that ability is just dog shit.
What? Well, the problem is we don't know if they have spaghetti code or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 2 years. Hopefully they don't have that much tech debt, but I don't know. I have no idea about what the back end of Overwatch looks like or why exactly it's difficult for them to fix shatter. But
Yeah, like last patch, they fixed where it would go like across small walls, right? Like
Yeah.
pillars and stuff.
I
So
remember when it climbed up walls.
Yeah.
At this point,
could climb for
Hollywood.
3 meters.
I'm on the top of the fucking thing and I get fucking shattered. I'm like, I'm in the air.
yeah. Did you could chat
I'm
like,
back,
like,
chat.
on top of, like the coffee tables, right? From the bottom if you get the right angle.
It's fucking stupid.
He
But
made
now,
it.
but now it doesn't climb the smallest things like
Good.
a staircase sometimes. It's like, dude, seriously, man. Like, I don't like this. Some people can jump over shatter sometimes. Like the other day, I was getting like a 2-man shatter, and my Zarya right clicked, and they got moved into the air like just enough so they just dodged shatter. Like,
They
dude.
surf the Zarya right click, or like they jump off the payload, or like the Genji double jumps and you can't hit him, and he's nano bladed, and you're like, oh cool.
Yeah, we were just talking about
I'm pretty
how
sure.
I noticed last patch there's like a thing where it says oh, we fixed something with run shatter, but every couple months or every month we get a patch to fix run shatter, but it only makes it always worse.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah,
did
I
you
think.
have any,
Go
did you have
ahead.
any points when you watched the video that you were like majorly disagreeing with Seagull on?
No, none. I don't think it's
None at all.
Wait, do you watch it?
it's- Yeah, I watched it. I think it's just hard to disagree with anything that someone says when it's about the state of the game or the patches and stuff. It's like actually hard to disagree. It's hard to find points like against it.
Did playing on Team Canada at all kind of make it harder to go back to ranked? Like, you're the guy who's probably surfing the barrier between two worlds more than anyone else. You stream more ranked than pretty much anyone else, and then you're also playing professionally. Getting third at World Cup.
Dude,
But
maybe. Okay, this is a funny topic, but maybe it's because of who we were scrimming. UK, right? But scrimming was very unenjoyable for me. When we played things like UK and stuff, just like hardcore, like hard forcing goats and
I just feel like, dude, if you're playing main tank in that goats meta, how much of the game comes down to what you do versus what your Zarya
yeah.
and your Brigitta
Not a lot.
does? Because you're kind of you show up and you're like, oh, I really hope my Zarya shields this Brigitta stun, or we're all dead. And then it's like, wow, I really hope my Brigitta sets up my shatter, right? How much is in your control or what you actually do?
I feel like the way that I see it is that when we came into scrims, I felt like Fusions was like he was either a genius or his team was just doing all the right
he
things. Right?
microed everything.
Yeah, that's the only way it would work. That's what I realized. I realized that if I say back, don't use bubble, keep keep stun, we'll do that to burn their bubbles, and then we all go at once and we all do this and that. Yeah, I would have to do all of it, right? And I wouldn't have enough experience to do it myself, but
I think tanks should do that more. Like on Fuel, we had this system with me and Unko a little bit where he'd just be like, dude, you just call my trance. And I was like, okay, because a lot of the time they don't see what you see, right? And then you get to choose how you want it to be used.
I've always been under the thought that tanks should be the most demanding because they are the ones that create all the space and determine the oh god, this is my very bad English coming through. Like the pace of a fight. There we go.
yeah. So basically, a lot of times, I feel like, oh, dude, they're going way too hard. They're swinging like crazy. But they knew their timings and stuff. That's why it was so hard because you felt like they were doing mistakes, but they were so stupid. But they were actually doing something good.
I'm trying to fix the
And
volume.
it's like
Show and
they're
stuff.
not going, and then they go hardcore. They stop going. They go hardcore, and then it's really hard to adapt. And as the main thing is like, it's just kind of since we didn't know how to do it, and I didn't have a practice, it was kind of boring, dude. Like they get always like comboed, and they were doing like flank. They always did like Brigitta flank stuns with the shatters.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, dude, like, I can't do anything. It's just kind of boring, man. And doing that like 6 hours, like 4 hours, like I was like, dude, I can't wait to get back to rank. But there's also this effect of like playing on a team. It's just hard to go stream and go play the game when you just play competitively, right?
The difference between very high competitive and ranked is ranked you don't have to think as much because everyone on the other team isn't thinking as much.
That's exactly.
Whereas in
Just
very
mutually
high
agreed to not think.
very high level Overwatch, you have to think about everything. Whereas if you're thinking about less than the enemy team is thinking, then you're gonna get outflanked.
Yeah, dude, a good example of that is when I set up like a flank shatter, right? And someone on our team sees me. And I always tell myself, yeah, he doesn't have a mic, right? Fuck it, he's not gonna communicate that I'm here. I just stay there and look at him, and still go with the flank shatter.
I mean, in Overwatch, you're never gonna have solo carry potential ever. It's one of the reasons I never get adrenaline most of the time when I play Overwatch is because it's all teamwork and all like chance and kind of stuff. It's usually not like, hey, I took this matter into my own hand and I made it mine. Like in CS:GO, if I go into a 1v4 situation, I'm like, I know I can do this. I can clutch it out. I get that first kill, blood starts getting pumping. Get that second one, oh, we're in it. Then we're in that 1v1 situation. If I get that kill, I'm like, everyone was watching me and I got that guy. If I die, I'm like, oh, fuck, I could have had it.
Yeah.
Hands are shaking.
My heart's pumping. My hands are shaking. I'm still shooting. I'm still getting the headshots.
Feels good, man. Old memes.
Dude, that's a fossil meme.
Fucking dinosaur.
FPS dog.
Yeah.
Host
And then
Jayne.
someone- Host
I was
Jayne.
taking a drink. Okay. Thank you for welcome to the friendly Overwatch debate with your host Jayne. I'm joined by Seagull, XQC, and Surefour. Next topic for today is going to be.
You sound like a weatherman.
Oh yeah, no, I host Radio Plat Chat on my channel.
Here, I'll put my weatherman mic on.
Well, what do you want to do, Plat Chat? You just say, listen, guys, you still have to improve, but you're just not good right now, but it'll get better.
I just radio DJ. We just listen to music. But
okay.
no, with the I guess Seagull's
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh God, you weren't
Oh,
kidding.
damn.
How is everyone doing today?
Why don't you
I
talk
hope
like
your
that all the
days
time?
Are good.
Why
Jesus
don't you talk like
Christ.
that all the time? Man, you
I don't
should.
know. This is my normal voice.
Okay. No, I think we covered it all. It's a shame you joined us a little bit late, Felix. But
Oh, that's all right. I just woke up.
yeah, you streaming later today, I assume.
Maybe later, maybe not.
There's not a day XQC doesn't stream.
It happens on occasion,
It's probably
Yeah.
when he's dying or something.
or getting back to Canada, one of the two.
Yeah.
True.
Well, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for the chat. Seagull, if you do want to join me for Pugs next week, we can kind of experiment with different rule systems. You know, timer ultimates and ban systems if you're interested. Open invite. But yeah, I'll let you guys get back to it. You're not actually streaming right now, are you, Surefour?
No.
Just chilling? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't find any more Canadians to mob Seagull with, so...
Like Team Canada. And
You handled the Canadian gang pretty well there.
Well, I was the devil's advocate. I was the one everyone could yell at.
Perfect. Well, you're used to that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cheers,
Because
guys. You have a good...
I'm acoustic.
Have a good day and good luck with the rest of your streams. Cheers.
Thanks for the chat. I'm just glad people are talking about this stuff now. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, like I did something productive, you know?
Which
True.
stuff?
Like we got to talk.
We can talk whenever you want.
Yeah, we had a discussion that transcended the Blizzard forums, you know?
Mhm.
That
True.
was like productive. It's just like sometimes I feel like, don't you feel like you're kind of alone in like your delusion that the game isn't where it should be, right? And you look at the forums and it's like, dude, am I the one that's crazy?
Yeah, dude, I thought about that in my video. I'm sitting here like, dude, I'm frustrated, and people were like, "Oh, dude, why you mad, bro?" And I'm like, how can you not be mad? It's 2 CP and they have goats. What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why you just you say your opinion. You kind of talk about your opinion to the people you want to talk to your opinion with, and then you see like the different like perspectives on everything.
I'm just glad I'm not alone. Feels good, man.
New weekly podcast called State of Overwatch.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Because then when Overwatch League starts, you get into the juice and the drama.
That's true, actually. And then you yoink it all.
I mean, I've always said, no matter what meta is ever created in Overwatch, people will complain about some facet of it.
Of course, but it's come to the point where there's always something fun about it, but this one has something that's like it's harder to get a grasp on what's fun about it, unless you're literally playing to make others not have fun.
This is one of the things I want to bring up, but like, I don't think it's because the game is getting worse that people are having less fun. And this is gonna sound funny, but it's because people are getting better at the game is why people are finding it less fun. So, for example, if you ask anyone, when was the most fun season we've had? Probably like season 1 to 3, right?
Maybe 4 a little bit. Triple Tank got better, but yeah.
Seasons 1 to 3 is when everyone just started playing the game. So the people that were still like really good just naturally were able to just kind of shit on people just by themselves. Like that's when most DPS players had fun. They felt like they had more control because people were bad and weren't working together as much and like maybe not as good as them. But now since the game's been out for so long, there's been so many pro matches, Overwatch League, people are watching people are streaming. Because Overwatch is such a team-based game, since everyone is at the high level is getting better, there's less in your control because it's teamwork based. So that's why nowadays 6v6, when you have that weak link on your team but they don't have that weak link on their team, because everyone on their team is at or close to your level in a way, at least in terms of game sense or mechanical skills, you are going to lose and there's not that much you could do about it because everyone's better.
That's where matchmaking comes in.
Yeah, but the hard part is it's very, 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 very hard to like matchmake a team-based, ability-based game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course, it's like impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Because like, say there's a 4.5k DPS player that isn't in Overwatch League, but then there's a 4.4k Overwatch League player.
what is happening?
It's going to think
Chad?
that Overwatch League player is worse than the 4.5k.
Regardless of how you see it, I feel like either it's because of the effect you're saying, but I feel like some roles do have less of an impact over the patches and the game progression.
Yeah.
So some roles will have less impact, and if you're the highest rated person on that team in that role, you can't care as much as if they have their one guy is like on DPS or some shit.
Yeah, and it depends on the patch too. Like if right now your team doesn't like play full good or something, if they just have like a god tier Doomfist, it's so annoying. And a lot of time it like depends on the patch because like last patch it was Widowmaker, and yeah, it just kind of rotates.
I mean,
And that's I
that's
really
kinda
don't
just
like
how it is,
that. I don't like that about pro play sometimes because it's like I don't think teams adapt to the patch. The patch just picks who wins a lot of the time. Like NYXL dominated, and then the patch shifted. Brigitta came out. Don't play dive. They can't adapt fast enough within a month to get to playoffs. Like, cool. See ya.
That's why I want. That's why I want a ban system, because it in a way artificially changes what the meta can be. Because say it's like full dive, and like this guy has the best fucking tracer in the fucking league, and he's on that team. So it's like, oh shit, it's tracer meta. We're winning. We got the best tracer. Ooh, one ban introduced. Ban tracer.
Yeah.
We can't play dive as much now. So now you change it. So now it becomes more about flexibility instead of just flavor of the month. That's why in League of Legends, the best players are the ones that can play multiple characters at a very high level because there are bans. If you're one trick, you get banned out. You can't do anything anymore. But in Overwatch, everyone's like, oh, this guy's a one trick. It's his meta. He gets the shine now. Oh, next meta, on to the next one tricks. But you add a ban system, you can't one trick anymore. You can change what the meta is based on your bans against whatever team you're facing.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
but-
why I would want a ban system.
I feel like bans are not in Blizzard's like philosophy of their own game.
I mean,
it's like if I tell you like you have like for them they have like a card game, you want it to be like a MOBA.
Mhm.
I feel like that's how they've been talking about it for a while.
dude,
the
the
thing
worst
is,
part about it, like,
they,
wait, can I say
sorry.
this real quick?
yeah,
Okay.
you can go.
They don't even allow map pick ban. How the hell are you gonna get hero ban?
That's true.
Good luck, dude. Like,
Well, I think it's same issue here. I feel like it's the same problem where they think that they're right all the time, and being wrong is like, oh no, of course I'm not wrong, right? Every game mode is balanced and equivalent, of course, right? Like, no, it's not, and they don't want that. Like, am I wrong? Like, that's how I feel about it.
That's why.
scuffed Overwatch. One
I
sec,
mean,
I'll rejoin.
they didn't want hero limits to be added to the game, but eventually they added it because you do like 6 Diva Souls and stuff. But like, that's why if you get enough people talking about one solution, like we want one bans, there is a chance that it might happen. But if you kind of just say, hey, I don't like this, it might not happen.
I would
Yeah.
love map pick ban just for the pro scene, because like, dude, how much of Overwatch Season 1 is determined by like your team sucks or is really good at certain maps and not good at others, and like you just get unlucky on a week-to-week basis, and it's just like, yeah, I guess you should just adapt to the map's forehead, but it's like that's not as easy as that. I mean, we see it in Counter-Strike, we see it in other games. I don't know.
I would want to see it too, but it's kind of okay in Overwatch League because like the maps are predetermined, so
What's
you
the
can like
music?
practice
Oh,
it a
sorry.
shit ton.
The music's so loud because we had to reinstall because of the patch.
Matt-
chat,
What
my
about
bad.
a mad veto? For solo?
Map veto.
Maybe
That's
one
fine.
veto, one or two vetoes.
Another thing I would want to see in Overwatch is more than just 3 heroes a year.
Well, I kind of brought that up too. I'm like, what were they? So we get what, 2 or 3 heroes a year, holiday events. Some of the holiday events are actually legit, but like what else? What else is there for true change for the game itself? I guess that I play, because I feel like the events and stuff, all the PVE and the cooperative missions, those are really, really, really fun. I actually have so much fun playing those events, right? But it's also not the game itself. It's like a different game.
Yeah, of course. So what would you want with it? Like a new one, a new ones, more creative ones, or
I want to see more changes to the base game, like the stuff we were talking about. I want to see him try messing with bigger picture stuff than just implementing heroes. And yeah, they did do like stuff like the endorsements and the LFG and stuff like that. But I want to see him mess with the base parts of the game, like ult charge, ult rates, making the game less teamwork reliant, so people feel like they can carry harder. You know, stuff like that. Messing more, just doing crazier patches maybe.
I think it's going to be literally impossible to make it less teamwork required,
Well,
just because of like how the game is itself.
I'm pretty sure that's what they said they were focusing on just a few months ago when they did say like, hey guys, you're going to see recycled events for a while. You're not going to see a map out of us at BlizzCon. You're not going to see a lot of this other stuff because we want to adjust more of the game. Like, I'm pretty sure Blizzard is aware of a lot of that stuff. They were literally talking about it before BlizzCon. And so I'm very curious to see where the game goes in the next 6 months for Overwatch League Season 2. Like, dude, how far away is Season 2 still? Holy crap.
That's true.
3 months? I don't know.
Is it like February is the season, or is that preseason?
I just
February
wait until
14th.
Dude,
I just wait until people tell me what to do.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I know there's probably half the teams are scrimming already. And it's like, okay, you're sitting here scrimming, and it's like, okay, Ashe is about to come out. They're about to nerf goats. They're about to do all this stuff. Like, what's the point? May as well scrim next
There's
month.
no point.
I mean, I want more big changes too, because I think big changes just like spice up the game and make things fresh. That's why I always like when a new hero is kind of introduced. But I don't think they're ever going to find a way to make things like solo carryable in this game, no matter what they do. Like, you would have to make it all DPS versus all DPS for it to be something like that. But just by there being like healing and tanks being able to pressure people, there's no way you can solo carry.
Nah, I kind of agree with that, but there's different ways. I guess I don't really necessarily care about the carry part as much as the frustration part, like making the game more enjoyable more often, making a more normal experience to where like I have more good than it's like, people always remember the bad more than the good, right? So if you go log into Overwatch and 1 in your 5 games is bad, you're gonna remember that bad game. So
Yeah.
they need to fix that.
So like, what makes a game good for you in ranked then?
Dude, listen. Before you even answered it, like back in the days, I did not need ridiculous amounts of healing, a bash, and a bubble, and teammates to back me up whenever I do anything as Ryan, right? I don't need like everybody to all be like behind me and shit. And I feel like as much as that's where you would want the game to be at, like all teamwork and stuff, like sometimes it's just not like the best of both worlds. Like it's just kind of boring because when you don't have that, you're powerless, and it's just like, okay, well this is gonna be a sleeper game, and preemptively.
Yeah.
That's kind of intuitive.
So what I'm saying is, most people have fun when they can kind of just do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've been having fun just only playing Roadhog and just kind of flanking and just hooking everybody and going yoinksies and shit like that. And when I'm allowed to do that, like, yeah, I'm having fun. But most of the time when you're having a bunch of fun in Overwatch is when the other team sucks. And then when the other team's sucking, they're not having fun at all, but you're having fun.
Or it's when like you're in the ladder game and you're like, okay, I really hope these guys don't swap goats. I really hope they aren't trying super hard, and then we get to have more fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, the problem is not the game itself, is what I'm kind of getting at. That's why when I asked way earlier was like, do you have a problem with the game or do you think it's the players? And in my mind, in teamwork games, it's mostly the players, because I've had games in Overwatch where it was very evenly matched, and even though we lost, we just like lost by a little bit. I didn't feel bad after that loss because it's like, oh, they just played a little bit better. The problem is, there's so many variants in this game and so many different heroes people need to know and know how to play them and work with your team, that once you don't have someone that's good, it makes it hard for you, and then it makes you not have fun.
Yeah, I said that a little bit in my video about like, I feel like I have to fill out like these forms, like a checklist, like send a fax, like do all this shit just to play the game. And then the crazy thing is it's also in the pro scene too, because like, do you imagine any other game where a team like Shanghai Dragons goes 0-40, even ignoring Shanghai Dragons, just how many 3-0s or 4-0s there were in Overwatch League Season 1 is insane. It's like, if you're better than the other team in Overwatch, you just stomp them. Like it's crazy how much of a stomp it is. And I think that applies to ladder too, in a lot of cases where like, if the other team is just a little bit better and you get kind of stomped, you don't have fun when it's a stomp.
I would want less barriers in the game, to be honest.
That's because you like playing hit scan.
Exactly, and you can carry as hit scan by hitting your shots.
True that. I'm pretty sure XQC is just like, yeah, I just want to, play the game a little more. Not see stunned at the top of my screen a little more,
That's just kind of.
I just want to swing my hammer and then shatter it here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even swinging either. Like sometimes you just feel like you can't even go for any swings or any fire strike. But like, okay, so the thing is that that if you get like 1 or 2 swings, you could get ult charge and you could do something, right? But the right play in most scenarios is to hold shield perfectly, right? But even doing that, you're gonna lose. So it's like this duality where you have to do something that is bad to win and get away with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive. It doesn't make you a good player at all. It's
the same thing for DPS and ranked, where you're just like, okay, I know I should be like playing as a core with my backline doing all this stuff, but it's like, okay, my team sucks. And you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna go flank.
I gotta flank.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, by flanking, now I actually get to, what happens when you flank? You get to 1v1 somebody, right? And then if you're better than them, you can just win that fight, and then you carry the game, not because of team play or anything else, but because you just went for a stupid play and they didn't notice. So now you get to take a 1v1 and you win it, and you get to like leverage your skill more in the game.
Unless you're a popular streamer and then you just have people hard focusing you and then going towards you before you even flank. I mean, the inverse is true though, right, XQC, where their Ryan isn't getting any support, but you're getting all the Brig stuns on them and all of the Zarya shields, and you're having the time of your life. You're just like, I can do whatever the fuck I want for this Ryan, and then fucking shatter everyone.
Yeah, and so I'm better than I'm not, right?
Yeah, but then like say like both teams are like using their Brig stuns and Zarya bubbles like equally, and then you're like, oh, now this is like a mind game matchup where I just have to outsmart this Ryan.
I'm just glad that people are talking about this stuff because it's like I feel like everyone knows and feels this way about the game a lot of the time, where you feel kind of powerless, and it's just super team based, but you don't want to talk about it too much because, like, if you're sitting there on a stream, right, and you focus on that parts, it's just you don't have that much fun, right? So instead, you just want to focus on the good parts as much as you can, so you do have that fun,
Well, the way I've started to just try and think about the game is like I would say like a year or even a year and a half ago, I used to complain all the fucking time about like, oh, I can't solo carry. This game sucks. I hate playing it because of this, 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 this. But then it's like I can think all of that way, and it only really just like makes me in a sour mood, and like I'm not thinking about what I need to be doing correctly in a way, where it's like to actually win in ranked, if you like actually really want to win in ranked, you have to like talk a lot more. You kind of have to micromanage because maybe other people aren't talking. You need to tell people what to do. You need to like do the right thing all the time. Whereas if like
I'm the opposite, dude. I just go numb. I don't give a crap about anything. I just play my heart out, and I'm like, my teammates suck and they don't pick the right heroes, whatever. Like if I ask them every game to swap, then I feel like I have a higher chance of getting tilted. So I just keep grinding, just go game after game after game, and just say screw it.
A lot of ranked is like how your mindset is. Because I do that when I play on stream now. It's like sometimes I'll get frustrated because like, I did some shit and we didn't win, but whatever. But it's like most of the time, if you're playing pretty effective, but your team just isn't there, it's like, yeah, it just ain't it. That wasn't it, Chief.
Chief. Decided Chief. Dude, that sucks. I just think overall it's like how can I say I feel like if the right call is always to like communicate and try your best and stuff like that. But if you're gonna play all day, there's no way you can overcompensate for people that don't talk and don't try and rank, right?
Yeah.
Where you sort of have to just play your game and this game nobody's talking. Well, there's no way even if I talk for everyone and we're gonna win. It's like I'm just gonna chill out a little bit, right? Yeah. And I hate that it's like that because it used to not be like that at all.
In what way?
I just feel like I can vividly remember at any time that they would cheer ranked and it'd be like an environment that I would be very excited to talk and yo, I want to talk and people are talking. I had like feedback or whatever, right? But now it's like there's a lot of games that I get into and it's just nobody's talking and I'm trying to like, hey guys, let's talk about this and do this, and it's still not there. And it's just like, okay, well, if we win, if we win, if we lose, well, we lose. But I'm not gonna go out of my way and communicate for everyone. There's no point. There's no feedback. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of that is just like one of the things I've always wanted for ranked ladder is like I feel like top 500 doesn't actually mean anything. I've always wanted solo queue only, kind of like Dota 2, and I want an SR system that is uncapped. So 5k isn't the cap. So like you have based win rates or like based SR on how much you lose or gain. And if you win a lot, you're just going to keep going up, 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 up. Because right now what the SR system promotes is 3 stacking at night or 3 stacking in general and then just camping top 10. And camping top 10 is not fun because then like you don't actually play the game. You just kind of camp there. But if you have an uncapped system, the people that play all the time and win all the time are the ones that'll get like very high. So if like this guy's a fucking grinder and he's fucking winning, he's gonna be at like 7k before anyone's even at like 4.5k or some shit. But right now, since it's capped, people get there and they're like, oh, if I lose, I'm just done. And now the other problem with that is like some people are like, oh, I'm never gonna get top 10 anyways because people just 3 stack. So I kind of want to play the game, like practice my mechanics, but I don't want to like talk and like work with my team too much because that can be annoying. So then some people just mute or like just don't talk at all and don't try. And then the other thing is like I want a reward for top 10. Like if you get top 10 or even top 1, you get like a special skin. Like something will strive towards that now. But right now it's like, oh, I got a spray for being top 500, but top 10 doesn't mean anything. Very cool.
So basically you want to make top end ladder just like, most people don't even care about it these days. And the people who do care about it, it's like the 3 stacks at East Coast at like midnight, 3-4 stacks, East Coast midnight, playing goats every game, and they're like, oh, we're all top 10 now, and you're sitting there and you're like, ah, cool, no one cares. And
Yeah, because like if I'm a solo queue player, I'm like, well, I know the only way to get top 10 is to really just 3-stack because that's my highest chances of winning because solo queue is just rolling the dice. But
Yeah.
if you want like a very intuitive system, you go solo queue only. You make it so everyone has the same amount of chances on who you get their teammates. And usually the higher skilled people will climb more. And then if you have an uncapped system, they can just climb infinitely instead of camping.
Dude, this whole thing we're talking about, man, is like the most 0.0001% problem I've ever heard.
Yeah. Like,
It's funny though.
Us 0.01% are the streamers. They watch us.
Yeah.
I mean, but dude, just look at literally just look at like the top 10, 20, 30 leaderboard. It's just all people who just don't play that much. It's just like a camp fest pretty much. I just think that's counterintuitive. That's just terrible.
Yep, that's why
it shouldn't ever be like that.
They're all trying to dodge each other as much as possible when you queue when you don't think people are on. I've been there. I've grinded past top 5 many times. It's just like you get there and you're just like, okay, either I start stacking late night. It's like usually once you could solo queue like not easy. Once you get to 4,600, like going solo queue past that is a grind. Like good luck.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost pure luck because the game is just like trying to make you lose every single match. It's like you have 4 masters that got like 4 top 500 and it's like, oh my god, I have to play my brains out to win this game.
That's why I like the Dota's system because like technically those guys that are very high, they're always trying to get like put in games that they lose, but they can still win and keep climbing. And because they have the option to just constantly keep climbing, they will keep playing.
Yeah. Also, I just feel like, that's like a first world problem type thing, but whenever the games get good, it's sort of my time to stop playing Overwatch for the day. Like, for my schedule in general, because there's like a sweet spot of when the games are really good, right? And you just like you can pretty just like turn on a stream, look at how the quality of the games. Let's not play right now. You can just wait and play when the games are really sweet and stop, and then wait for the next day. Play like those 3 or 4 games. They're really pog, easy to win. Stop playing it, right? You do all these things correctly, you can secure top 10, top 20, just camp there really easily. But I just don't like that you just can't play all day and have the same sort of experience. It's drastically different from an hour to the other.
They can never even fix that. There's literally just like not enough people playing at all times a day because most of the top 500 dudes are scrimming. Like they're scrimming during the day, and like the most fun time to play is always like West Coast prime time. Like, I don't know, 6 p.m. or later until like 9 or 10. I always find that to be like all the pros are on. They just got done with scrims or whatever, and it gets fun. And then like I queue in the morning and it's just, I lose half or more of my games. It sucks. And then later you always start winning more because I lost earlier. I don't know.
And then of course all the games are fun because the pro players are playing, and because there's pro players on each team, everyone's smart and it's somewhat equal. Whereas if you have people that kind of play the game or are one tricks and don't know the game that much, you're kind of at a disadvantage sometimes.
This is like the most high elo problem. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I remember being top 10 and literally queuing solo and feeling comfortable about it at like 4:30 a.m. or like 6 a.m., 5 a.m. like through the night. I didn't care because I knew the games were gonna have like certain quality. Now it's like if you queue at 4 a.m., you lost. The game is over, dude.
Yeah.
See, it's funny because the most fun heroes in Overwatch are the ones that piss the fuck off of everyone on the other team. So like I have hella fun right now playing Roadhog because I can just vape Nash, heal myself, flank, hook and insta-kill someone. But when they get hooked and insta-kill, they're like, fuck this Roadhog, piece of shit trash. But I'm like, I'm doing good. And it's just like Brig. Brig players probably have fun as shit because they're like, hey, bashed, I don't die. Oh, I'm nanoed. I get to do whatever the fuck I want.
I got solo 4K. Funky guys.
Yeah, people getting bashed are like, fuck Brig.
Oh, look at this guy. You want to play the game? Hell nah.
Nah, you know,
not on my watch.
Just like when I'm Sombra, Diva's like, hey, 4-second matrix, you can't do shit, shoulder. And then Sombra's in the meta, hey, Diva, 6 seconds, you can't do anything. Bitch. So it's funny. The things that people have the biggest problem in are actually the most fun heroes to play.
I mean, dude, if you're a Doomfist one trick, and now this is like your time to shine. Like you're just sat there, just not having fun for like 3 or 4 seasons or however long Doomfist has been in the game. Now it's like, oh my god, it's the Doomfist meta. There's too many tanks.
Yeah.
No one can stop you because there's no tracer or whatever. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they have like tingling senses, right? Where like they're like above someone, like, oh yeah, these guys are not gonna be able to play the game. Hey, dude. Oh yeah.
Why do you think Hydration was one tricking Doomfist before anyone else was? You gotta be weird to like that character, man.
Dude, he would literally, I would play against Hydration on that fucking Smurf, and he would just like, I remember playing, dude. I'm playing Lunar Colony. I still remember this game. He's on defense at the start of the game. We're like all at choke, and he just punches me and runs to my spawn on offense. I'm like, what the fuck is Hydration doing? And then like 1 or 2 people go and chase him, and he's like, it's time, and it instantly farms them. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is stupid.
You know, it really be like that sometimes.
You know, then you get Red Shell on your team, you know?
Yep. Fuck Red Shell.
Yeah, he's in my chat right now. Hi, Red
Yeah,
Shell.
I've been seeing him make fun of me the entire time. Little does he know he's an idiot.
Love you, Red Shell. It's just the local Lucio one trick that everyone at Top 500 knows, chat. Every single person, dude. I think it might finally be time to actually go play some Overwatch after talking about Overwatch for like 3 hours straight.
Feels good, man.
Feels good, man.
Feels good, man. Feels good, man.
I will see you gamers later. Enjoy.
Yes,
I
yes,
enjoyed the talk, dude. This was actually so cool just to hang out and talk. We should do this type of thing more often. It'd be fun.
Yeah, we can do this whenever.
All right. Well,
I think there are some people in your chat that hate me now, though.
that's good.
Look, you can't do anything without getting some haters. That just means you're doing well.
Oh, I know. Whenever you make an opinion on something, it causes people to hate you. That's just how it is.
True that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go, boys. Have a good one, gentlemen's.
Peace, man.
Gentlemans.
Thanks for coming.
Goodbye.
Peace, dudes.
Peace out.
Goodbye.
Chat, did Felix just hit us with some kissies? What the fuck? Hell yeah.